Hi, this is Tom from Idonics. I'm going to show you around Ignition VP, our virtual production solution. So what we've got here is a nice looking newsroom set that we got from the Unreal Marketplace. We've kitted it out with our plugins and some blueprints that we made to really bring it to life in a virtual production context. So let's have a look. The most important part of this set is our control plugin, which is set up to poll the Ignition VP server. So that's a scalable solution, so you can have as many graphics boxes running Unreal Engine as you like. They'll all poll the same service that tells it what the graphic state should be in, so they all can kind of keep synchronized up like that. Another thing that our control plugin does is deal with camera positions. So we've configured a number of known positions that we can go to. If we flick through these, we can see our camera will move to these different positions where you might see some graphics. So this is used for a trackless solution. So you can work with billboarded talent. If you've got tracked cameras that are sending their positional data and doing it that way, then our control plugin will just work in harmony with that and just deal with talking to the graphic plugins themselves and leave the camera positions alone. So let's have a look at our control plugin talking to some of the graphics that are in this set that we put in. So we've used our charting plugins and we've created a sequence of them that you can see here that I'm going to play through. Our charting plugins are driven by tabular data that can either be Excel files or from Google Sheets. So the first one that we can see is a line chart. We'll zoom in a bit closer to it. They're all very, very flexible, so they can be used in a number of different ways. In this example, I've bound it to some data that I found on the internet about voting intention, and what I've done is saying, in the first step I want to bring in the Labour line, in the second step I want to bring on the Conservative line, and in the third step we'll just bring them both together. So let's have a look now at the pie chart, which we've placed on the desk because it's nice and circular and fits quite well with our set. This is the same data again, and this plugin is also very flexible, so you can choose whether or not it has a hole in the middle. You can choose whether it's raised up or lying flat. Number of things in different steps. You can choose to take out segments to highlight them and things like that. And it can also be driven from live data. So let's show that with this column chart as well. So if we move over here, one of the cool things is that our Google Sheets can be set to live update. So examples of that are when we've done corporate presentations, you can have an audience interactive poll going on for audience to vote, and you can have a chart showing the number of votes in real time as they're being entered into the system. So what we can see here is, if I change the number, we've got a polling interval set up so that when it notices a change, it will animate to new positions. So that's our charting plugins in this virtual set. So a new feature in Ignition VP is the concept of custom graphics. So our charting plugins take very specific JSON formats. So the data that comes into them has to be formatted in a way to drive those particular charts. But now we've also got a plugin that allows you to define your own, deal with any JSON that you want to throw at it and do whatever you like in your own custom blueprint. So if you've got a little bit of blueprinting expertise in Unreal Engine, then you've suddenly got a lot more flexibility here in what you can do in a sequence. So quite a simple example of that is that I've got a custom blueprint that takes just a parameter of day or night, and that can set some things up when it gets that data. So it's kind of changing the color of these colored lights, and it's changing the background image to a nice daytime image. So that's a very nice and quick way of kind of setting different styles within the same virtual environment with our custom graphics. So a couple more examples of our custom graphics in action. The first one is just a rotating model blueprint that I put together, and that just takes a payload of the name of a model that's in the blueprint itself and brings it in and out. So it's just an example really of how you can move things around, bring things in and out in your set from a sequence, which is quite cool. And there's a number of different models that are in this graphic, so you just choose whichever one you want. Another example of a graphic, this one's a bit more complicated. I've just built a bulleted list type graphic, and this one with some nice 3D text just expects a JSON payload with a number of lines, and as you fill in those lines in your sequence, it builds more and more of the graphic. So yeah, just another example really of how a bit of blueprinting in your set, and you've got a really kind of flexible and powerful solution. So another new plugin that's come out recently is the Screens plugin that we're using here. It works well with Ignition VP. The Screens plugin basically means that you can use any static mesh that you've got in your virtual studio and define it as a screen, which means it can have images or NDI feeds routed to it as part of an Ignition VP sequence. And all that image management and storage is done inside Ignition VP on the server and sent down to all the engines. So let's have a look at a quick sequence that we've got that's showing that off. So first of all, we've got this nice curved screen at the back of the studio. As part of this sequence, we're routing an image onto it. So you can have any images that you want for your particular show. This screen on the left, I'm going to route an NDI source onto. So I've got an NDI camera running, so it's over to my right, I'm waving hello. So yeah, these are some cool uses of the screens in a static way. These are kind of part of the set, but you can also use them as more kind of foreground graphical elements. So I've got two more that I'll bring in now. I've used a kind of a glassy texture as the screen, and got some images, PNGs with transparency that give this kind of glassy graphic effect, which is another cool use of the Screens plugin. So let's have a quick look at the editor screen. This is where you create your sequences. This has also got an output window here, so if you've got an engine that you want to be using to render your previews, you can set that up with our control plugin in much the same way, and it will follow what you're doing and show you what it will look like. So let's just do that very quickly to show how easy it is. You first create a new sequence based on a particular set. You can give it a name if you want, and then you're presented with all of the graphics that are available to be controlled as part of a sequence, and then your sequence itself is running horizontally along the bottom. So let's just quickly have a look at a pie chart. We'll say that the pie chart is in the first sequence point. You select your data and you select your column of data that you want to show, and that's can be all that you do, but there's the option of more here to kind of really drill down into some of the finer details of these plugins. So for example, we don't raise this one up, it's kind of like looks nice and flat on the desk. Let's not show the title there, and let's move the camera so we can see it a bit closer. Yeah, so again we can add multiple sequence points if we want to do certain things. let's animate to a different point in time. Let's go a bit further away so it's more drastically different. There we go. And then we can also do things like highlight pieces of the pie. So let's bring out one of the sections in the next point, and then let's have another point where we take that section back in again. So it's really as simple as that to build a sequence. Let's have a final step where we take the graphic out again. And you'll notice that the graphic itself wasn't animating while we were doing that, so it runs in what we call immediate mode, which just lets you preview what the data is going to look like. But we've got controls down here, so what we can do is rewind to the beginning and play this sequence out, and we'll actually see how the animations will look as well. So we've got our first step, and then we change the data to a different point in time. We then brought a section of the pie out, brought it back in again, and animate it out at the end. So yeah, building sequences is as simple as that.